mental game of peak performance trading and investing. In my new book, and in the video course of the same name, Peak Performance Trading and Investing, I get into a lot of the mental tools and the psychological tools that peak performers from all fields use. The mental game is obviously quite important. People talk about the mindset of a champion, of having that indomitable will to keep going and going. And I think that when you become aware of all of the advanced psychological tools that are out there that can help you win the mental game, then you'll be excited about them, just like I was, and you'll want to use them in a trading and investing context. In the book and in several hours of the video course, I go into all of these tools in a lot of detail because, first of all, they really help, they're really useful, and the other reason is you need some training in how to use them properly. Now, what tools am I talking about? The most obvious one is visualization. That's a word that people throw around, and there are a few kinds of visualization. The most obvious one is mental practice, where you're basically simulating in your mind how you want things to happen, what you think a perfect practice session, or what you think, in this case, a perfect trading day or a perfect investment would look like, how you would act doing that. But there's a lot of scientific and anecdotal evidence that backs up the fact that mental practice works. Dr. Richardson, an Australian researcher, studied basketball players who did regular free throw practice and then who supplemented their practice with mental practice of free throw shooting. And he found that basically there was no difference between people who just practice free throws and then those who split their practice time between actually practicing and mental practice. Basically, that means that your mind uses the same mental circuits when you practice it mentally as it does when you actually practice. It's a pretty staggering result, and what it means is that if you are undertaking all of the right things in your trading and investing, the mental practice is a great supplement. It's a great way to suggest or to program your mind in a certain way what you want to happen, and also, as the flip side, to avoid choking, to avoid freezing and all the other really unhelpful behaviors that sometimes happen. The other thing is that you can use psychological tools like visualization. You can use them for other purposes as well. One is managing emotions. Of course, traders and investors everywhere complain about their emotions getting the better of them, about their emotions being very volatile and linked to P&L and difficult to control. These tools help peak performers everywhere to get into the zone, to manage their emotions so that they stay on an even keel, that they stay calm, collected, focused, able to deal with whatever comes their way. And in the course and in the book, I go into a lot of detail about how they work and how to use them. The other thing that you can use them for is getting in the zone whenever you want. This is getting in the zone or being in the zone is a wonderful feeling. People talk about runner's high. So when you're running and you just get so sucked in and absorbed by the experience that everything else seems to fade away. So people know that it's a wonderful state to be in. It's very helpful also when you're trying to do something or when you're trying to stay focused on a task. And I will teach you how to get in the zone whenever you want. And then the last thing is setting goals. Visualization is a way of suggesting a certain reality or a certain outcome to your brain. And one of the most obvious ways to use that is to suggest a certain outcome in the future. I have a goal for what kind of P&L to generate, what kind of percentage returns to show, what kind of reality I live in. And by using the right visualization tools, we can implant those goals in our mind. And that makes them more compelling and hopefully more likely to materialize. Now, these tools may sound a little bit offbeat. You may be skeptical. I can assure you that they work. First of all, many famous people, many well-known, amazing performers have used these exact same tools. I'll read a quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger. "I visualized myself being and having what it was I wanted. Before I won my first Mr. Universe title, I walked around the tournament like I owned it. I had won it so many times in my mind that there was no doubt I would win it. Then I moved on to the movies. The same thing. I visualized myself being a famous actor and earning big money. I just knew it would happen." So that's Arnold Schwarzenegger, who has been very successful in several fields, telling you all about the power of visualization. Another example, perhaps not quite the performer as Arnold Schwarzenegger, is myself. I've read about all these tools, borrowing from sports psychology especially, but also from the therapy worlds, and then some peak performance coaches who work with individuals. And I have either created from scratch or adapted some of these tools for the trading and investing world. And I have found that they give certain benefits to me. The first is that I feel much more calm, much more collected, and even detached when I'm in front of the screen, when I'm thinking about my results. The other thing is that I'm able to maintain the emotional state that I want. So if I decide that I'm going to be unfazed and in the zone, I'm able to stay in the zone, and I'm able to get in the zone whenever I want. The other benefit is that I no longer choke or freeze. Because I've practiced mentally what I need to do, when that moment comes up, or when I need to act, I can act. I've already practiced this 100 times in my head, so I can go ahead and do it. And then the last thing is that I found it's much easier for me to set goals and to achieve them. So all in all of the peak performance tools have helped me immensely to make really a transformation in my results, and then the feeling that I have internally while I'm investing and trading in the markets. But some of the biggest changes have resulted from these advanced psychological tools. In the video course, I talk about one exercise for managing my emotions, and this has probably had the single greatest effect of any one practice or any one exercise that I use in my stable of exercises. So I would encourage you to be open-minded and to test out some of these advanced psychological tools that I'm talking about, to model or to follow the example of peak performers in other fields who've used them, and give it a try, and I think you'll like the results.